Let's get this out of the way first. My husband and I are currently separated and we are getting divorced. I'm going to file in a week or two and we've been living separately since I was 6 months pregnant. Why, you ask? A pretty common occurrence. He was having an affair with a woman and he gave me the "I love you and I can't live without you" talk after I caught him. No, he didn't confess. I was suspicious about his late night office hours and tracked him down at his office, only to find him missing. I waited for 3 hours, all alone, and then I saw them both arriving at the office. She was hanging on to him, they kissed inside his car. That's where I confronted both of them. She was crying, and he went on to console her saying it wasn't her fault. That was 4 months ago, and I moved out of the house heavily pregnant. I moved to a friend's home he didn't know about, and for the next 4 months, I didn't have any contact with him. My choice. I didn't inform him when I went into labor. My sister and best friend were there for me. I gave birth to my healthy baby boy and named him after my childhood sweetheart Daniel, my first love, who sadly passed away when he was 20 from leukemia. It was the most heartbreaking thing that ever happened to me. It affected really me bad. I lost 40 pounds in a month and had to be hospitalized. I still have a hole in my heart, a part of me was lost forever the day I lost him. It took immense therapy and counseling to cope with the grief. I met my husband 6 years later. He was the first guy I fell for after Daniel. We got married 2 years later and after 3 years of marriage, we got pregnant with our first child. I wanted to wait a few more years, but it was he who pushed for a baby. My husband's name is Philip and in his family, the firstborn sons are always named after their father, so we decided to name him Phil. However, after our separation, I started experiencing Daniel's presence around me. I was a mess, but I saw dreams where Dan would talk to me and tell me that everything would be okay. Honestly, I feel like Dan's spirit has helped me heal and gave me strength to cope with the breakdown of my marriage. When my boy was born, I named him Daniel. His middle name was after my grandfather, and I gave him my last name. A month later, I contacted my husband and informed him that his son was born a month ago and that I was going to file for divorce and to chalk out any visitation if he wanted. I had him blocked everywhere for a month. The same day, I reactivated my Facebook and announced the birth of my son with his full name. My husband called me up crying and furious and told me that I had no right to name his son after some dead guy I slept with. His family thinks I'm the devil incarnate and even my mom thinks I went too far. I'm losing my mind here. Am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. He shouldn't have cheated making him an idiot, but it's not just your son, nor is it just his. I understand not wanting to have contact with him, but telling him about his son a month after he was born makes you an idiot. You're also an idiot because you named your son after your late boyfriend, not taking your ex-husband's feelings into consideration. I'm only saying this because clearly, you wouldn't want to name your son after your ex who cheated. I wouldn't want to either, but you're selfish because your feelings aren't the only ones that matter when it comes to the child. You know what, not the idiot. Was what you did petty? Yes. Did he deserve it? Also yes. I think him having an affair while you were pregnant was not only crappy, it may have actively put you and your baby at risk from the stress alone. Well, he has a right to see his son after the birth. He had no right to your pregnancy or the birth as it was a medical procedure, and a pretty dangerous one at that. Having him around would have been traumatic for you and could have made the whole thing even more dangerous than it already was. Not the idiot. He doesn't deserve to have a son named after him after he was cheating and lying to you when he had the chance to come clean. He pushed you to have children earlier than you planned, lied and gaslit you when confronted him, went after his coworker or mistress when caught in his lie. He doesn't deserve to be the father of your children, let alone to even be your husband. He's not a man, he didn't own up to his responsibilities, just viewed you as an incubator for his children. You deserve better than him and his family. Background. My boyfriend, 23, and I, 23, met at university about 4 years ago and have been together for about 3.5 years. After university, I moved back to my home city to get a job, whereas he stayed in the city we met as he had a placement that offered him a job once he graduated. We live about an hour apart. We make it work because we see each other on weekends and I take time off in the school holidays, etc. I work as a personal assistant for one of the partners in a pretty decent-sized law firm and have been here since I graduated about 2.5 years ago, and he works in a primary school. I love my job, I get to travel, great benefits and bonuses, and it's a workplace where everyone knows each other and gets along great. I would consider my boss a friend outside of work since we often go out in groups together. So then, we were talking about what we wanted our future together to look like, when and where we'd move in, a pet, things like that. He mentioned children at some point, not necessarily now, but before he turned 30. I have never been too bothered about kids and he knows this. I would have children, but it's never been a must, for lack of better wording. Maybe it's because I'm the youngest in my family so I never grew up with babies or younger children around me, or maybe it's because I'm only in my 20s and haven't really thought about it in that much detail. He then said that, not word for word. You would have to start getting used to being around a baby, since you're going to be the one looking after it throughout the day. I was taken aback, never had said I wanted to be a stay-at-home parent or shown any interest in doing that. So, I told him that. I said I wasn't going to give up my job to be a stay-at-home parent. I said if it ever came to children, I would take the allowed paternity time off to bond, etc. with a baby, but I wouldn't be quitting my job. He went off on one saying how I was only a personal assistant who makes more than him without the bonuses, whereas he was a teacher, shaping the minds of young children and furthering their education. How I was unloving and a monster for not willing to put a baby first, and how it would feel unloved if we just had our parents look after it. I asked why he wouldn't do it and he couldn't answer, so went back to shouting and name calling. My argument was that children were never a be-all or end-all part of my life, and while I would love the baby, I would not put my career on hold. My life, to me, is pretty fulfilled as it is, as I have a great family. I've got nieces and nephews who I love and spend time with, but it's nice I get to hand them back to my cousins at the end of the day or weekend. Another point I made was how willing would he be to come and take over for me on an evening when he had been around 30 young children all day, and then coming home to one. So, am I the idiot for not wanting to give up my job for a baby that doesn't even exist yet? No idiots here. Congratulations. You've saved yourself a divorce and split custody of your future children. He clearly let you know how he felt and he'll resent any other decision from you. This will slowly grow until one of you snaps, and then comes divorce and the horrific process of co-parenting. Oh, and divorced homes are traumatic for the kids as well, leaving them vulnerable to all sorts of mental issues down the road. Please listen to him, break up, and find your happiness elsewhere. Not the idiot. I know way more working mothers than the other way around. Beside, he could do a mix, like him only working a half day, and the other half day find someone who either loves children and has the time, like a stay-at-home mother or stay-at-home father, or, if prepared, there is always a solution, even if it would mean a move from someone, not the one with a great job, excluding special circumstances. So might not be ready to be a partner in the real meaning, like to respect the other too. Just because you have a baby does not mean you have to give up your life goals, whether you're two men or a male-female couple. This is the 21st century. We don't have flying cars yet, but most couples both have to work to make ends meet. There are plenty of children who are cared for by family members or daycare while parents are at work. They seem to be doing fine. I don't know if you can get married where you are, but you need to have this discussion with your boyfriend before you do. It will affect the rest of your life together. I met my boyfriend 4 years ago when we were both working for the same company in Japan. He is Australian, I am Italian. I've been living in Australia for the last 1.5 years. I am here on a partner visa. I am currently 3 months pregnant and I thought we were both happy. However, I only just found out that he's been having an affair with a coworker for the last 6 months. At first, he denied it, but I had proof, so he changed to begging me for forgiveness and that we could work it out and all this crap. But I don't want to. I'm done. I don't want to be with a cheater. I broke up with him and already moved into an Airbnb. I'm planning on going back to Italy because I have nothing here apart from my piece of crap ex. I let him know today. He flipped out and told me I can't do that. He said I'd be kidnapping our child and that I'm not allowed to leave. But I've made up my mind. I already talked to my parents and I can live with them until I have figured everything out. I'll likely get my old high-paying job back, so I'm not worried. However, all of my ex's friends have been texting and calling me all day, saying I'm a piece of crap for stealing his baby and that they will take legal action. I don't think they can, and I wouldn't be allowed to stay anyway since I'm on a partner visa and this partnership doesn't exist anymore. Am I the idiot for going home? Everyone's the idiot here. He's a cheater doesn't mean he deserves to lose his child. He can move to Italy. He can still visit. Yeah, whatever. It's essentially killing his relationship with his child, and that child will have to live a bio-dad-shaped hole in his or her soul. That being said, you should have the right to be with family and not be stuck in the husband's country just because you are pregnant. So I'm really torn. But I don't see anyone else pointing out that this is not a justifiable punishment for cheating. This is a really crappy situation. Not the idiot. This sounds dangerous with his reaction and that of his friends. It might have been better not to tell him, but hopefully you can block him on everything and get out of there as soon as possible without giving him any more information about your plans. People are right that since you are no longer with your partner, your visa is nixed. Try to get as much documentation of his poor character as you can that could stand counter to him filing for custody before you go, but don't delay. Good luck, OP. Not the idiot. You've got to watch out for yourself and the baby. You are going to need help, and being isolated will not be healthy. Your plan sounds like a good one, to be honest. You have set everything in place to be secure for home and job. You are in Australia on a partner visa with him, which makes your situation precarious. He should have thought about all of this before breaking your trust. I would remain on good terms in the terms of if he wants to come to Italy and be involved, fine. Good luck to you. My wife and I have 3 children. Our son, the oldest, is 8, and our daughters, the twins, are 4. My wife's side of the family is very health-oriented, as we are. When our son started eating solids, his aunt gifted us with a set of dishes she had made to match the Harvard Healthy Eating plate. She has also given a set to nearly everyone else in the family, as they're a big hit. We use them for all meals at home. We also do things like having water at most meals, although we also have a cabinet overflowing with different kinds of tea. We don't have sugary drinks such as Coke or juice in the house. If we have sweets, they are homemade and are usually things such as black bean brownies or oatmeal crumble in place of cobbler. We do not make our children work out, but my wife and I do so in our living room, so they see us and grow up with the idea of it being normal. They like to join us, especially our son, who was very proud of being the only student in his grade to pass the school's fitness test for the past 2 years. We talk about nutrition and that sort of thing with the kids, especially when we go grocery shopping. We let our son pack his lunch, but he has to follow the same guidelines as any other meal, basically half a plate of veggies, some fruit, a type of whole grain, and a healthy protein. For example, today, he took a peanut butter sandwich, applesauce, baby carrots, cherry tomatoes, cauliflower, and pickles. So on and so forth. My sister moved in with us in October. She lost her job and had a bad breakup. She needed a place to stay, and she felt that a change of scenery would be good too. My wife and I were hesitant to let her. My sister is, to put it politely, on the opposite side of healthy living. She is the sort of person who drinks a 6-pack of Coke within 2 days, if not 1. It is worse than we expected. She is constantly commenting on everything, from the fact that I don't make our mom's pork chops and fried potatoes for breakfast every Sunday, or why we don't own a deep fryer. It has gotten much worse recently, with her making several rude comments about my wife's weight, including accusing her of bulimia when my wife had the stomach flu, and implying that we are raising our kids to have eating disorders as well. We are now thinking about throwing her out, but she has not been able to find stable work. She is a journalist. She has had brief one-off gigs, but nothing reliable. We have had several conversations with her before and during her stay, so I know talking won't help. So, would I be the idiot for kicking her out? You had me on the fence after black bean brownies and no sweet drinks, not gonna lie. Health is important, but a regular brownie in moderation won't kill them. Anyways, you are the idiot if you kick her out without actually having a serious confrontation about her comments. You're adults and she's depending on you for a place to stay. Also, assuming you grew up with her, you understand that her eating habits weren't as particular. And that you have had a lifestyle change. Overall, she is your sister, and kicking her out is an idiot move. Not the idiot. From what you're describing, your sister doesn't sound like a great of a person. Never in 1,000 years would I imagine someone being completely horrible to another family member, especially someone who's doing her a favor. My thoughts are to kick her out because she's having a negative impact on you and your family. That being said, I'm not saying cease all contact with her. The best you can do is give her your support and love, as long as it doesn't impact you. Your health habits are pretty extreme, and you seem to be very proud of them, as you go on for a few paragraphs about it. It's understandable that your sister would be compelled to make a comment every once in a while, but the comments that she's making seem to be way out of line. Not the idiot, because it's your home, your rules, and you're nice enough to help her out. Consider sitting her down and having a serious conversation. If it doesn't work, continue with your plan. You don't need to be made uncomfortable in your own home. My oldest son and boyfriend, H, had a bad relationship ever since H had accidentally burned down our house. He put in a pizza while me, my 2 sons and daughter went out to the mall, and H had forgot about it and left to go back to his apartment. When we got back home our kitchen was on fire, and by the time the fire trucks got here the whole downstairs was on fire. Our house was pretty much destroyed, and our husky passed away in the fire. When I told my boyfriend about it, he remembered his pizza, he apologized and I forgave him, but my son never did. My other 2 were too young to remember. My cousin Took said she could watch my kids until we got a new house, and I stayed with H at his house. It was too small to hold all of us. A lot of our stuff was damaged, but not enough to be thrown away, so we got a new house 2 years later, and my son still hasn't forgiven H. It only got worse when he got older. He would never say hello to H when he came over and would always avoid him. Like one time when H came over and I cooked dinner, my son ate upstairs instead of downstairs with the family. The day my son was on a call with his friends playing video games, and my son lost and said, "What the hell?" So H went upstairs to his room to tell him, "Look, stop all that cursing, you're not grown." And my son pretty much ignored him until H and said, "Why are you ignoring me? Answer me." And my son yelled at him to get out his room. After that they got into a loud argument. I ran upstairs to tell them to stop, and my son yelled out, "Have you not gotten it yet? I don't like you, you burned down our house and want to act like you're my dad. Leave me alone." I told H I'll handle this and told my son that he is acting like a child and that I understand that he was upset years ago, but now you need to let it go. It's been 10 years and that H has apologized and that he needs to forgive him. He said, "I don't care, he is a stupid person who you took back after he burned down our old home with all our stuff and our dog. I'm not forgiving him. I don't even know why you took this patchy bearded idiot back anyways. Last week he made fries and left the oven on for an hour after he was done, and it didn't get turned off until I came downstairs and seen it was on. He's an irresponsible idiot." I told him he was grounded for disrespecting him and that he needs to get over it. I called my friend Y to tell her what happened, and she said, "Honestly, he's kinda has a right to be mad. He lost his childhood home when he was 5 and his dog, so now I feel like I could have handled it better. So am I the idiot?" You're the idiot. First, if the boyfriend is still leaving the stove on, he hasn't really learned his lesson, has he? That issue isn't in the past, it's still going on. More importantly, though, is that you aren't hearing your son when he says he doesn't consider this person to be a father. You kind of just brush over that part and focus on something that happened 10 years ago that started the dislike, but skip over everything that has happened since and your son's feelings. You're the idiot. If my mom's boyfriend burned my house down, killed my dog, and then tried to exert authority over me when I clearly didn't think of them as a parental figure, then yeah, I would still be pissed 10 years later. You have no right to tell your son to get over a traumatic event or forgive the person who caused it. I'm not going to judge the disrespecting part. I personally think respect needs to be earned, but I'm not a parent, so I don't know how that applies to step figures, boyfriends. You're the idiot. Your boyfriend burned down your son's childhood home because he carelessly left the oven on, and he still does it. Instead of staying with your children, you lived with your boyfriend and handed your children to your cousin. And now your boyfriend is trying to act like a parent to your son. You never gave your son a voice or chance to grieve. He hasn't had a chance to even forgive, only you were apologized to. Your son was supposed to automatically forgive. You're going to lose your son because you're picking your boyfriend over him again and again.